Fatiha. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والعاقبة للمتقين، والجنة للموحدين، والنار للملحدين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيبنا الممجد أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وغاصب حقوقهم وقاتليهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في قرآنه المجيد والفرقانه الحميد وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. صلوات. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my voice, and I blame that on the Kuwaiti weather and the AC. And since morning, I've been topping up on ginger and honey tea so that my voice does come back to a certain extent. And second, this is something which I always do, which I forgot to explain yesterday, that if people have a specific topic or a subject that they wish me to speak about, please do let the management know, as I believe that the lectures should be something which is interactive. That, yes, to a certain extent, I always prepare a topic from beforehand, but sometimes the topic which I prepare is not necessarily what the public or what the community need. At the end of the day, these lectures, this member of Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam is the greatest university in existence. There is no university, every university in the world, Oxford, whether it be Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, Harvard, they all failed in front of the member of Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Therefore, if there is a specific subject or topic that you wish me to speak about or expand upon, please do let me know. But continuing on with the topic of Imamat. This ayat of the Holy Quran, which I don't recite in front of you, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that on this day I have completed, or I have perfected religion for you, and completed my mercy and my favors upon you, and named Islam as your religion. This in itself has a whole world of a meaning. But unfortunately, when we look at the Muslim, like I briefly explained yesterday, that the term al-yawm, when we look at the Holy Quran, it's appeared on numerous occasions. But majority of the time, al-yawm in the Holy Quran is related to the day of reckoning. And it always begins with yawm al-qiyamah, yawm al-hisab. Yet this ayat of the Holy Quran is the only al-yawm in the Quran which does not explain in the Quran in itself the actual event or the day. And therefore, when we look at history and how history has manipulated the event of Ghadir, we have a very famous incident and narration from our 8th Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam, where a companion asked Imam Rida alayhi salam that so many years have passed since the events of Karbala. Why is it that you remember Karbala every year? The Imam replied, we remember and commemorate Karbala year in, year out, so that the Muslim world does not forget Karbala the way they have forgotten Ghadir. From a historical point of view, Ghadir is one of the most important aspects in Islamic history. Ghadir is the event which contains the longest sermon of the Holy Prophet as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, when you look at all of the sermons of the Holy Prophet, none of them are as lengthy as the event of Ghadir, as the khutbah of Ghadir. Therefore, just by understanding or studying the sermon, the khutbah of the Holy Prophet on the day of Ghadir, we realize that the event of Ghadir is no small event. And salawat. At the same time, when we look towards Ghadir, there are numerous aspects of Ghadir which we can take lessons from. The first we can relate to modern day propagation of religion, or how social media is used. Today, all of the youth, you're all active on, I believe, every single social media platform available, from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything. Yet, how many of you use these social platforms to propagate the message of Islam? I always say this, that every single one of us has a responsibility towards religion. Every single one of us. We are all ambassadors of Islam. We are all messengers of Islam. Now, how do you propagate that message? How do we pass on that message in today's day and age? And let us look at how the Holy Prophet propagated the message of Ghadir. When we look at the events of Ghadir in itself, we see that the event of Ghadir took place 8 days after the completion of Hajj, Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Adha is the 10th of Dhul Hijj, and Ghadir is the 18th. In those days, 1400 years ago, as still is tradition, that if someone is returning from Hajj, it's not one person who goes to welcome the Haji. The whole family member goes. Every single member of the family goes to visit or goes to welcome the Haji who is returning from Hajj, especially if it is first time. In today's day and age, you can go online and find out what time the airplane is landing, whether it's delayed or whether it's on time, so that you do not go to the airport and waste your time. In those days, travel was through either walking or with horses or camels. And it was ordained through days. Now, I'll give you the example. The Mashi that is completed on Arba'in. It is 80 kilometers from Najaf to Karbala. 80 kilometers takes approximately 3 days to complete. The distance from Makkah to Medina is approximately 450 kilometers. Now, according to that calculation, 450 kilometers, if walked, will take approximately 6 days to complete. So if Hajj is completed on the 10th of Dhul Hijj, the people of Medina know that the 10th of Dhul Hijj is when Hajj is completed. Therefore, the 16th or the 17th of Dhul Hijj is when all the Hajis will be returning to Medina. And every other destination, they will walk back out accordingly. I'm only using the example of Makkah and Medina. Now, on the 16th of Dhul Hijj or the 17th, the people of Medina have come to the outskirts of the city. Why? To welcome the Hajis. That the Hajis are returning from Hajj, especially since this was announced as the last Hajj of the Holy Prophet. Therefore, you had thousands who had already gone on Hajj with the Holy Prophet as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the 16th or 17th, people are standing on the outskirts of the city, yet they see no one coming. They go back the next day. They go back the third day, the fourth day, and they see that no one is coming back from Hajj. So it is natural the human mind will question, why is it that no one has returned? So as soon as the Hajis return from Hajj, or from the event of Hajj, the first question at that time that was on everyone's mind was not to congratulate you on Hajj. The first question that everyone asked was, why were you delayed? This is how the Prophet propagated the message of Ghadir. Now, the event of Ghadir in itself has anywhere between 70 to 140,000 first chain of narrators who were present on the day of Ghadir. That then, once they return back to the cities, doubles. Because everyone is asking, whoever has returned from Hajj, why have you come back so late? They have no choice but to reply that the Holy Prophet stopped us at the event of Ghadir, or at the place of Ghadir. Why did he stop you? He stopped us to announce and gave us a sermon. What was the sermon about? They replied that the sermon was about announcing the wilayat and the imamat of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. This is historical fact. This is not something which I am coming out with because I'm a Shia, for example. This is historical facts written in the books of history. Now, what was it that the Holy Prophet said? Man kuntu mawla, fahada aliyun mawla. Now here, mawla, majority of you all Arab speaking. You know Arabic better than me. The word mawla has more than one meaning. The word mawla has approximately 18 different meanings. Mawla also means leader and guide. Mawla also means friend. Mawla also means servant. Now, when we look at Arabic grammar, it states that when the same word is used twice in the same sentence, it will always give the same meaning. So in this sentence, the word Mawla has been used twice. Now I leave it to the Muslim world to make and come to their own conclusion that the first Mawla is related to the Holy Prophet as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second Mawla is connected to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Now it's your decision that the first Mawla that is related to the Holy Prophet, what do you take that as? If you think the Holy Prophet is your friend, then also the second one also have the same meaning. But if you turn around and say that the first Mawla means leader and the second Mawla means friend, grammatically it is incorrect. You can speak to any professor of linguistics and they will explain the same. That if the same word, any word, is used twice in the same sentence, both words would always give the same meaning. This is from a grammatical point of view. Second, Islam is a religion of logic. Nothing in Islam is without logic or rational thinking. Everything. And this is my example. This is my message today. That if you see anything within Islam, or you're told anything in Islam that does not make sense logically or rationally, then question it. At the same time, Islam allows you to question everything. Islam allows you to question everything in existence. Islam allows you to question the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the purpose of correcting our faith. I have an incident myself, right? I was in London and we had the center in the library, and me and my father are having a lesson, a debate. The topic was the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My father was saying that Quran, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say that there's only one God. Means that there's only one God. But I was saying that there's also another ayat, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. I said that if you look deep into this ayat, Allahu nuru samawati, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. I can say that if I look at it from a grammatical point of view, this can mean that there are two gods. One, the God of this earth, and the other is the God of the skies. And we're debating. The purpose of this debate was not that I believe that there is more than one God. The purpose of this debate was so that I can strengthen my arguments against those who believe in more than one God. That was the purpose. Yet, there's a random person who had walked in, a member of the community, and we had not heard him. I did not hear him enter. We don't know how long he was standing and listening to our conversation. When I looked up all of a sudden and said, Salam, he goes, you're both kafirs, and he walked away. Man, Islam allows us to question everything. But at the same time, if there's something within Islam that we do not understand, first, see that am I able to raise my intellect so that I'm able to understand this or not? Majority of the issues that arise within Islam and our belief is because of our lack of knowledge and our lack of understanding. Therefore, we need to expand our knowledge and our intellect. That nothing in Islam, that of the Holy Quran, la ikraha fi din, that there is no compulsion within religion. Islam does not force anything upon us. But everything that exists in Islam, once I have accepted Islam, I must now accept everything within the frameworks of Islam. There are certain issues which we may not like, but that disliking of certain rules and regulations of Islam is purely because of our lack of understanding and nothing else. Islam is at one with us. And we need to learn to become at one with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Not live the life of Jekyll and Hyde. That certain aspects of my life are Islamic, certain aspects of our life are dictated by society which is un-Islamic, for example. I'll just give the example of, if I have a glass of water and I pour oil into it, you can clearly see what aspect is oil and what aspect is water, because oil and water do not mix. You will always see the difference. But if I was to look at aluminium or steel, aluminium and steel are made out of different metal compounds. But when they are made, when it is completed, you're not able to tell the difference. Salawat. If I was to grab a metal rod, a steel rod, no one will be able to tell me that this part of this rod is metal and this part is another, or this part is another compound. They will say that this whole rod is steel, because it has been merged so much that it has become one. We ourselves should be the same when it comes to religion. That no one should be able to look at me and able to differentiate between my lives and say that this part of Farazdag's life is, for example, Islamic, this part of Farazdag's life is un-Islamic. Every part of my being should be at one with Islam. Every part of my being should be at one with religion. Every part of my being should be at one with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. When we look towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, like I gave the example yesterday, that we need to learn to keep the Ahlul Bayt as our role models. When we look towards Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, we see him to be the complete man in every aspect. No matter what aspect of life we look at, if we look at Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, we see that he is the complete being in that aspect. In every aspect of life. We need to learn to understand Amir al-Mu'mineen. We need to learn to follow and become one with the teachings of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Not that I pick and choose my religion. You have a very famous incident of Abu Dhar, that he came to the Holy Prophet as Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he comes and says that I saw a dream, but I'm not able to understand this dream. And he said that the dream was that I saw a rope coming from the skies onto this earth. And I saw that people are flocking towards this rope, but I don't see anyone holding the full rope. I see that people are grabbing onto strands of this rope. The Holy Prophet replied that that rope that is coming from the skies is religion. Yet the people who are grabbing onto the strands of this rope are only grabbing onto those parts of Islam which they like or which they understand. And this is the same with us today. And this is maybe, I might get a lot of complaints today in regards to hijab. What is hijab? The hijab of women is that hijab which is wajib in namaz. That every aspect of your body must be covered, apart from your face, your hands up until your wrist, and your feet up until your ankles. That is the complete hijab. Yet a lot of our women don't do hijab on the basis that it restricts them. This, you must understand, is the external force manipulating religion. That this is a Western ideology that hijab restricts our freedom. But you must understand that Islam is the only religion in existence that gives women freedom. No other religion gives women freedom the way Islam has. No other religion. And this is a challenge. Bring forth any religion, any ideology that gives women freedom the way that Islam has. And the perfect example of that is 1400 years ago, when Bibi Khadija was given the title of Malikatul Arab. Bibi Khadija's title of Malikatul Arab was on what basis? On the basis that she was a businesswoman. On the basis that her business expanded the whole Arab world. How many thousands of people did she have working under her? Islam gives our women the freedom that no other religion gives. An example of that you can see today, that up until the late 60s and 70s, women were not able to vote in the Western world. Up until 62, I believe, women were not able to purchase property on their own names in the United Kingdom. Until 75, women were not able to vote in Switzerland. The event of Ghadir. How did the people give their allegiance? How did the women give their allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen? Through a bowl of water. Now the women will place their hands on one side of the bowl into the water, and Amir al-Mu'mineen will place his other hand. And that was how the allegiance was given. 1400 years ago. The house of the Holy Prophet, which still exists today, unfortunately, it's been turned into a multi-story bathroom in Mecca. This is the house of Bibi Khadija salamullah alayhi, in which the Holy Prophet moved after his marriage to Bibi Khadija. The property was owned by Bibi Khadija salamullah alayhi. This is Islam. The first, if you look at history, the first university was established by a woman in Morocco. The first university. If you really want to look at the first university, was established by none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. If you study there, and this is how Islam is being eradicated. If you look at the 17th edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, under the category of education, it states in there clearly that the first university established in the history of man was created by Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib in Masjid al-Nabawi. This is in the British Encyclopedia, the 17th edition. When you look at the 18th edition, it disappears. There are both editions at home. Now the 17th edition has this note, in education, but the 18th edition is missing. This is how they are, or the Western world society is dumbing the Muslim world today. That if you look at the Muslim world, at the time that the West was in the dark ages, the Muslim world was at its height of knowledge and civilization. Study history. That Baghdad or Africa were known for their knowledge. Every modern day science goes back to Islam. Yet the world is changing everything. Ibn Sina is known as who? Avicenna. Everyone knows Avicenna. How many people know Ibn Sina? Jabir ibn Hayyan. What's his Greek name? They've given all of these Muslim scientists Greek names. So that when I look at that name, when I look at Avicenna, first thought that comes to mind is that he's a Greek scientist. But his actual name is Ibn Sina, of Iranian descent. Every other scientist, Al-Khwarizmi, what's his Greek or Latin name? They're all known through their Greek and Latin names. Why? Because we have forgotten our responsibility towards religion. That every aspect of knowledge that we have is through the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You have the famous hadith of the Holy Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, where he says that the Holy Prophet taught me 1,000 doors or 1,000 fields of knowledge. And in each one of those 1,000, I open another 1,000. Yet, how many of us can relate back to Amir al-Mu'mineen? It's of the utmost importance that we understand what imamate is. The Khilafat is not, in today's day and age, is, as Napoleon says, that the throne is nothing but a chair covered in velvet. That is what Khilafat is. What matters to us is imamate. The imamate of those who are being designated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And no one knows. And you have proof of that. In regards to Hazrat Adam, what does the Quran says? Inni ja'iluka fil arda khalifa. In regards to Hazrat Ibrahim, what does it say? Inni ja'ilun fil nasi imama. We understand that both are God-given rights. This is Quranic ayats. That I have made you a Khalifa on this earth. Now the question arises that I am a human being. My sole purpose is to make sure that I evolve to become a better human being. That's my purpose. Every single one of us wants to evolve to become a better human being. For me to be able to evolve, I must have a role model that I look towards. That who is the best of creation. When I look, I see that I do not see anyone but the 14 Ma'asumeen alayhimus salam. I see no one. Why? Because they sacrificed everything for the sake of religion. Everything for Islam. And those aspects of Islam which did not exist and the Imams completed became a part of Islam. I'll give you an example. It is mustahab that in namaz, before you say Takbiratul Ihram, Allahu Akbar, it is mustahab that you do Allahu Akbar, how many times? 6 times before you say your takbir. This from whom? This from Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. That this incident, I believe, is weak. I believe, my personal opinion is that this incident which takes place is weak. It is stated that as a child, the Holy Prophet asked Imam Hassan to say Allahu Akbar. Because he was a child, it took him 6 tries. It took Abu Abdullah Hussein 6 tries before he was able to say Allahu Akbar correctly. I believe that this is incorrect on the basis that Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are Sayyid al-Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. The Ahlul Bayt did not become imams. They were sent down as imams. They then announced the imamate at the right time. Exactly the same with the Holy Prophet as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Holy Prophet did not become a prophet at the age of 40. He announced his prophethood at the age of 40. There's a whole world of a difference. One is becoming a prophet overnight, and one is announcing prophethood. This is where our misunderstanding comes about from. Now you have the very famous incident that when the Holy Prophet heard the first prophetic message of Iqra. The Holy Prophet came running back to the house, trembling out of fear, and then explaining the situation to Bibi Khadija, and then Bibi Khadija telling the Holy Prophet that, "Oh Muhammad, do not worry, that person who came was Jibreel." It doesn't make sense. That on one side you have the Holy Prophet. He does not know what has happened. All of a sudden he's woken up and saying that I am a prophet of Islam. It doesn't make sense to me. The Holy Prophet always knew that he was a prophet. Because you have the hadith of the Holy Prophet that I was a prophet when Adam was still a mixture of water and clay. Now there's another hadith which says, Ana wa aliyun min nurin wahid. Me and Ali are from one light. Now relate this to the hadith of the Holy Prophet where it says that I was a prophet when Adam was still a mixture of water and clay. At that time, when the Holy Prophet was a prophet when Adam was a mixture of water and clay, then know that Ali was also Amir al-Mu'mineen at that time. That Ali was Amir al-Mu'mineen when Adam was a mixture of water and clay. When you read both, when you connect both of the hadiths. Ana wa aliyun min nurin wahid. That the only difference is that on this earth, Ali and Muhammad are separate. On this earth, their designation is different. Their job specifications are different. The job specification of the Holy Prophet is to bring the message of Islam and propagate the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The message of, or the job specification of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the 12 Imams is to protect that message and religion of the Holy Prophet. And this is what we see. When we look towards every single one of the Imams, they did not bring anything new in Islam. They did not bring anything new to what the Holy Prophet had already taught. What they did was they expanded upon what the Holy Prophet stated. They further explained it according to the intellect of the time. And this is where we as Muslims believe in the concept of evolution. We don't believe in the evolution that we were apes and then became human beings. We believe in the evolution of the human mind. What my intellect was yesterday, it is not the same today. It will not be the same tomorrow. The same way that our intellect evolves on a daily basis, our understanding of religion also changes and evolves. This is why Islam is a living religion. This is why the Holy Quran is a living miracle. That every time I study the Quran, I understand it from a different perspective. Every time I look at the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, I understand them from a different perspective, depending on what my intellect is at that moment in time. That, for example, the hadith of the Holy Prophet, that Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha. When I look at it today, I see it from a different perspective. When I look at it tomorrow, I see it from a different perspective. The events of Karbala, year in, year out, the message of Karbala is always the same. The tragedy of Karbala never changes. Those are historical facts, they will never change. But how many of us can say that my understanding of what Karbala was last year has changed to what my understanding of Karbala is this year? Guaranteed you will say that my understanding of Karbala last year is different to what my understanding of Karbala is this year. I've understood a different aspect of Karbala. I've understood a different aspect of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. I've understood a different aspect about the martyrdom and the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Yesterday, my belief was that the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was so that I could practice my namaz correctly and freely. Today, my understanding of the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is that I have a responsibility to propagate the message of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. My understanding has changed. Last year, I only understood that namaz was my focus. Today, I understood that through the sacrifice of Abdullah al-Hussein, that namaz is not enough. It is also my responsibility to propagate that namaz, to propagate that message, to be able to perfect my namaz. What I said yesterday, I don't know how many people did act upon it. But how many of us took a step back when we stood up for namaz today? How many of us relaxed our minds when we stood up for prayer? I'll always give you my example. When I was in Qom, my teacher of ethics, he came to us one day and said that salawat. That whenever you lose something, stand up for prayer. 2 rakat namaz, recite any 2 rakat namaz. We asked him why. I thought that he is giving us specific intention or a specific namaz to recite when you lose something. Like you have namazes for different aspects. So we sat down, we asked the teacher that what would the intention be? It was just any namaz. Go, what's the effect? It goes, because as soon as you say your takbir, shaitan goes into overdrive. It goes, your mind will wander everywhere but towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everywhere else but Allah. This is how shaitan works in overdrive. Yet, at the same time, Amir al-Mu'mineen has given this example of resolving this issue. Why do you recite the nawafil of namaz? Someone came and asked Amir al-Mu'mineen that why must we recite, or why should we recite the nawafil of each namaz? Amir al-Mu'mineen replied that the reason for the nawafil is so that the namaz that you recite, when it is presented in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is pure. So in your wajib namaz, for example, in your qiyam, your mind is towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as soon as you go into ruku, your mind wanders. When you recite your nawafil, in qiyam, your mind is wandering, but in ruku, your mind is towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once you have completed both the wajib and the nafilah, before it is presented in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, both of these prayers merge. And then the complete namaz is then presented in front of the Lord. And those aspects of namaz where your mind wasn't towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is discarded. And the pure, complete namaz is presented. This is why we recite the nawafil. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen. The jobs of the Imam is to simplify religion for us. We make religion difficult upon ourselves by not understanding, by thinking of Islam as a burden. Look towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus. Look towards Amir al-Mu'mineen. In every aspect, his mind was constantly towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the battle of Uhud, when Amir al-Mu'mineen was sitting upon the chest of Amr ibn Abd Wud. Amr ibn Abd Wud disrespected the Imam by spitting on the Imam's face. The Imam got up and left. He then came back and killed Amr ibn Abd al-Ud. The people asked Imam Ali that, what was this action of yours? The Imam replied that the first time Amr ibn Abd al-Ud disrespected me. Had I killed him at had I killed Amr ibn Abd al-Ud at that moment in time, it would have been purely for my own sake. Therefore, I walked my anger off and then once again turned my mind towards Allah and then killed Amr ibn Abd. Therefore, everything that we do today should be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every aspect of life, your intention should be what? Qurbatan ila Allah. To seek that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether you're going to work, whether you're going into university, whether you're going to college or high school, whether you're spending time with your children, do it with the intention of qurbatan ila Allah. And that act of yours becomes the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just that one sentence, qurbatan ila Allah. And everything that you do becomes the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet there comes a time where history says that the 20th of Rajab is when Muawiyah dies. The letter of Yazid reaches Walid on the 27th. History says that on the 28th of Rajab is when the Imam makes the decision to leave Medina. Leaving Medina is not an easy task. The Holy Imam gives the orders to his family to pack their bags. Before leaving, the Holy Imam first goes to visit the grave of his grandfather, the Holy Prophet. As he sits upon the grave of the Holy Prophet, he goes, "Oh grandfather, your city is no longer safe for your grandson. That the time has become such that your son is being forced to leave your side." History says that narration says that after the grave of the Holy Prophet, he went to the grave of his mother Fatima Zahra. He gave his last farewell. There is one narration that as the Holy Imam was leaving the grave of his mother, a sound came from the grave of Fatima Zahra, where it stated that, "O son, do not worry. From now up until the day of Ashura, your mother will always be with you." The Holy Imam comes back to the house. There's one daughter of the Holy Prophet, Holy Imam, by the name of Fatima Sughra, or Fatima Alila, who at that moment was ill and was not fit to travel. The Holy Imam came to the room of Fatima Sughra. Fatima, seeing that her father is coming, tried to get up in her bed to show that she is fit enough to travel. Yet the Holy Imam sits on the bed side by side with his daughter Fatima and says, "Oh Fatima, I have named you after my mother for one reason. That is that you resemble my mother so much that every time I miss my mother Fatima, I would always look towards you. Also know that your grandmother was given the title of Sabira, of the patient one. Oh Fatima, I also ask you to be patient and wait and stay in Medina with your grandmother Salama and al-Baneen and wait for my return." Imam Hussein bids his farewell to Fatima and he leaves. All of a sudden, Fatima Sughra realizes and remembers that her uncle Abul Fadl Abbas, that he is one that fulfilled all the wishes of all the children. She calls upon Abul Fadl Abbas. Abul Fadl Abbas and Ali Akbar go into the room of Fatima Sughra. Fatima Sughra calls upon Abul Fadl Abbas and says, "Oh Uncle Abbas, somehow convince my father Hussein to take me with them." Abul Fadl Abbas and Ali Akbar say, "Oh Fatima, you're ill. You're not fit to travel. Remain here." And Ali Akbar says that, "I promise that once we have settled somewhere else, I will return to get you." Fatima Sughra, hearing this, is not able to contain tears. She looks towards Ali Akbar and says, "Oh Ali Akbar, in a land far away, when you get married and when you return to Medina with your bride and you see that your sister Fatima is no more, then promise me that you and your bride will visit my grave and recite Fatiha at my grave." There comes a time where the caravan of Abdullah al-Hussein leaves Medina. They left Medina on the 28th of Rajab. Fatima Sughra starts to miss her family. Then all of a sudden history says that on the day of Ashura, Fatima Sughra is sleeping. She gets up in the middle of the night screaming. Salma comes running into the camp, into the room of Fatima, and says, "Oh Fatima, what has happened? Why are you crying?" Fatima replies that, "Oh grandmother, I just saw a dream where my young brother Ali Asghar is weeping and crying for water. He's crying for water." Salma, hearing this, starts to weep and goes back into the room, and she looks at that glass where the Holy Prophet had given her khak, sand from Karbala. She looks towards the sand. She sees that that sand has now turned into blood. So Salma realizes that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein has been killed. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم اغن كل فقير. اللهم اشف كل جائع. اللهم اكس كل عريان. اللهم اغض دين كل مدين. اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل عسير. اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك. اللهم اغض عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير. صلوات.